Yeah.
Oh, I got to show somebody. Jesus will make it all right.
It's gonna be all right.
Oh, I got to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Jesus is the king of my life.
Jesus is the king of my life.
Oh, I got to show somebody. Jesus will make it all right.
There was a woman long time ago. She came to the well, y'all, every day. Got to talking to my Jesus. She didn't know her life was about to change. She said, I come to this well every day, and my feet, they're getting mighty tired. Jesus said, don't you worry, give you water from the well that'll never run dry. She got to jumping, feeling mighty happy. She just couldn't hold her peace, yeah. She went to town telling the people all around. She put the word out on the street. She said, come see the man with the master plan. It's the Savior I have found. Oh, blessed Jesus, I tell you that I've seen him and he turned my life around. And she cried.
Oh, I got to tell somebody. Jesus is the king of my life.
Jesus is the king of my life.
Oh, I got to show somebody. Jesus will make it all right.
It's gonna be all right.
I got to tell somebody. Jesus is the king of my life.
Pastor Hall.
Well. I am delighted. I am excited. I am always happy to be with the Roosevelt Mafia, the people who take Jesus seriously and their preacher seriously. I am so thankful for Pastor Thomas for inviting me to share with you these few days words of encouragement from the theme, Jesus Can Do It. Powerful theme. Jesus can do it. And so I want to say thank you, Dr. Thomas, for the invite. It is good. I tell you, I was just sitting here with my wife, and I love to hear the people of the way read. I love to hear the accents and, oh man, just the prayers, the way you guys pray. I'm jealous, y'all. Because I mean, you all are spoiling me and you don't even know it. Yeah, I love that. It is a delight to see Mama Thomas in the house. And so God bless you. We've been praying for you down here in Savannah. And then I would be remiss if I did not give a congratulations to Mrs. Thomas, the first lady of the Roosevelt Mafia. And so it is a pleasure. I'm sorry we could not be there with you guys to celebrate on your union, but I am so thankful to God for you all. And so now, without further ado, let us get into Colossians chapter 1. Colossians chapter 1. And again, what is your theme? Jesus can do it. Jesus can do it. And when we talk about Jesus, I simply mean Jesus, the Son of God, Jesus, the Messiah, Jesus who died on the cross and was raised 3 days later. That same Jesus who went back to glory to sit on the right hand of the Father. Jesus, who is the head of the church. Jesus, who is the creator of this world. Jesus, who saves men and women still today from sin and death. That's the Jesus I'm talking about. Now, when we say can, that simply means someone that is able to do or accomplish something. When we say to do, that simply means to perform an action or a duty. So when we put all of that together, when we say Jesus can, we are simply saying Jesus is able to accomplish and to perform what it is we need. Now, whatever that it is for you, you have to have enough faith to believe that Jesus can accomplish it. Now, here's the thing. Jesus has authority over it. Jesus has the power to perform it. Jesus has the ability to handle and accomplish it. So whatever your it is, Jesus has authority over it. Jesus has the power to perform it. Jesus has the ability to accomplish and to handle your it. So if your it is that which is a stronghold on your life, if it is that which puts you or has a tendency to pull you back into bondage, if it is something that keeps you at a guilty distance from God, whatever your it is, God through Christ has the authority over it, the power to perform it, and the ability to accomplish it. If you need to have more faith in your relationship with God, Jesus has the power and the authority and the ability to accomplish it by producing more faith in your life. If it's you need more have a more forgiving spirit and heart, Jesus has the ability to accomplish that it in your life. So what we say here is that Jesus can do it. Now, I know it's early for me to play mind games with you, but I want you to think, because as I pondered this theme, Jesus can do it, I soon realized that this statement is twofold. Because if Jesus can do it, now if I were to ask you all, can Jesus do it? Your answer, I'm sure, would be yes, a resounding yes. Jesus can do it. But then think about the statement, Jesus can do it. That is my belief, my trust, my confidence in the fact that Jesus, being who he is, can do it. But then there's something else deeper in this phrase, in this statement, Jesus can do it. It actually poses a question, because if Jesus can do it and you believe he can do it, then my question then from this statement is, can Jesus do it? That is not a rhetorical question. It is actually asking if you're willing to give Jesus permission to do it. Not only must we believe that Jesus can do it, then you've got to, at some point in your faith walk with God, allow Jesus the permission to do what you believe he can do. Now, many of us miss our blessings. We delay our blessings. We actually deny the power and the authority of God in our life, not because God isn't willing to do it, but oftentimes we have yet to give him permission to do it. Here's what I mean. Allow Jesus to have full access to your life, to your heart, so that he can do what you say you believe he's able to do. So you've got to not only believe, trust, have confidence that Jesus can do it, you've got to also give permission for Jesus to do what only Jesus is able to do. If I were to ask your pastor, can he change a tire? I'm sure he would say, yes, I can do it. But then if I say, well, can you do it? Knowing the way your pastor thinks, he would probably say, well, Fred, are you asking me, can I do it? Or are you asking me to do it? And so that's the same way it is with our relationship with God and with Christ. Believing is one thing, trusting is one thing, but then allowing him to have full access to our life so that he can do what only Jesus can do is a whole nother thing. Well, now look at Colossians chapter 1, because now in order to understand fully and to embrace the fact that Jesus can do it, then what we're going to need to understand, we're going to need to understand who it is that can do it. See, it's one thing to think, to believe Jesus can do it, and you really aren't aware of who it is you're asking to do something for you. So we need to know something about Jesus in order for us to strengthen our faith and trust in his ability to do whatever it is we believe Jesus can do. Now, notice I'm going to actually break into to verse 9 of chapter 1, because here's the whole purpose of what Paul is showing us. He's showing us Jesus demonstrates his ability to accomplish whatever we need concerning belief and behavior. Now, notice verse number 9. For this reason also, since the day we heard of it, we have not ceased to pray for you and to ask that you be filled with the knowledge of his will and all spiritual wisdom and understanding. Now, watch verse 10. Pay attention to verse 10. So that you will walk in a manner worthy of the Lord and to please him in all respects, bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God. Now, when he says increasing in the knowledge of God, he's not saying just simply you knowing about God. What he's showing is that your knowledge, the more you increase in the knowledge of God, it is the means by which you bear fruit. It is the means by which you please God. So right thinking often and will always lead to right living. So Paul says you got to know who it is that you're asking to accomplish something in your life so that it will bear fruit and it will increase in knowledge, and that your behavior will be a behavior that holds equal weight to your belief in the Lord. Watch this. Every child of God on here to this morning ought to have a faith walk that's a heavy walk. And yeah, when he says your walk worthy of the Lord, your walk ought to have the same amount of weight as the character of your Savior. So if you're following Jesus, then guess what? You, as a child of God, as a disciple of Christ, ought to also leave footprints in the sand wherever you walk. Why? Because you got a heavy walk. Your walk is equal in weight to who Jesus is. Now, if you got a heavy Savior, yeah, that can do it, then seems like to me your step, your faith walk ought to also be heavy. Now, that's the purpose, so that you will live a life pleasing to the Lord in all respects. Now, let's see who this Jesus is, so that we can appreciate what it means when we say Jesus can do it. Now, look at chapter 1. Stay in chapter 1. I need you to notice verse number 15. Notice in verse 15, he wants us to know that Jesus is supreme in every way. No matter what these false teachers are suggesting, no matter what these Gnostics might be suggesting, even when they synchronize all of these various belief systems and couple it along with Christ, he wants you to know that Jesus is all you need. Now, notice what verse 15 says. He's supreme. Why? Because Jesus is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of creation. He said that's the first thing you need to know, that Jesus is God the Son. He's not a created being. He's not a figment of Paul's imagination. He is God the Son. In other words, whatever makes God God, whatever makes our Father deity, then so does it make Jesus. Jesus is the same as our Father in essence, quality, substance, whoever, what, in all of what God is, so is Jesus. Now he says that's why you can lean on the fact that Jesus can do it. Why? Because he is the image, not somewhat an image of the Father. He is the exact image of the invisible God. Listen. He is in the likeness. He is the representation. He is the archetype. He is the exact representation and manifestation of who God our Father is. That's why Jesus would often tell the disciples and even those Pharisees from time to time, he would say, if you've seen me, you have seen the Father. Why? Because I am the exact representation and manifestation of my Father, like Father, like Son. So listen, if you're going to claim and pronounce that Jesus can do it, then you need to first know who he is. He is God the Son. That's why he's worthy of our worship. He is the firstborn, which means, watch this, not first to be born, No. Jesus isn't a created being. He existed before creation. That's why creation exists, because we've got a creator who brought in creation before time's eternal. He sat with the Father before he said, "Let there be light." Watch how powerful this is. Because when Jesus sits with God before the world ever was, it was Jesus. When God said, "Let there be light," it was Jesus who gave the sun its power. When God set the fish in the sea, it was Jesus who gave them the ability to swim. And when he put the lion, king of the jungle, in his place, it was Jesus who gave him his roar. Jesus was there in the beginning, before beginning, and we wouldn't have a beginning without Jesus who created the beginning. He is the image of the invisible God. Now, if you don't mind, come with me. Let's look a little further. He is the firstborn of creation, prototokos. He is preeminent. He holds first rank. That's what the word simply means. He holds first rank, which means Jesus ought to be, Paul sets the tone and says Jesus ought to have first rank in your life. Why? Because he is preeminent. He's the prototokos. He's the firstborn of all creation. Now watch verse 16. In relation to creation, he's supreme. How do you know? For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. Now, notice when he says even thrones and dominions, he's talking about angelic hosts, even the demonic angels. He said Jesus has first rank. Jesus has priority. Jesus stands supreme over all creation. Yeah, notice Colossians chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, "And in him you have been made complete." And watch this now. "And he is the head over all rule and authority." Listen, church, he's got more power than any president on earth. He's got more power and authority than any devil in hell or on earth. He's got more power than any CEO. Jesus is supreme. Jesus holds first rank. Jesus should always be the head of your life. I don't need a horoscope to tell me my destiny. I don't need a soothsayer to tell me what's going to happen to me. I don't need a palm reader to bless me and to tell me all I need is Jesus, who's God the Son, and Jesus who holds all rank. Boy, that's why I can depend on him who can do it all. Yeah, Jesus can do it. Now, in relation to creation, now he's the creator. He's the creator of all things. Now, verse 17. Yeah, now he says, "And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together." Listen, because of Jesus's creative will and Jesus's creative power, the world is dependent on him. Listen, not only the world, but all of creation and everything in it derives its being and existence from Jesus. So that if Jesus were not here, then this world would not exist. If Jesus were not here, we wouldn't exist. If Jesus were not here, salvation wouldn't exist. But because of Jesus, God the Son, because of Jesus holding first rank, because of Jesus being the creator of all, he says Jesus also sustains. Yeah. He holds it together. Now think about this. If Jesus can do it, then that means this strengthens my faith in that fact that Jesus can do it. How do you know, Fred? Because he holds it all together. Boy, that's a bad guy. That's a powerful guy that can create something out of nothing and then hold it together. And keep it together. But it just seems to me, y'all, if Jesus can create all things and Jesus can sustain all things, then it just seems to me he can keep your life, he can sustain your life when the going gets tough. When the dark days come, Jesus can do it. Why? Because he holds all things together. Jesus can do it. Why? Because he's God the Son. Jesus can do it. Why? He's the first rank and preeminence over everything. Jesus can do it. Why? Because he is the creator of all things. Now, in relation to the church, notice what he says. Verse 18, he is also head of the body, the church. And he is the arche. He is the beginning. Here he uses the firstborn again. The firstborn from the dead, not the first to be raised from the dead. No. He has preeminence over those who are alive and those who are dead. He has preeminence over all and all who will be resurrected. He has first rank. And then it says, watch the purpose, so that he himself will come to have first place in everything. Think the King James Version says, so that he will have the preeminence. Yeah. So that Jesus will have first place in everything. Now, if you're going to believe that Jesus can do it, then it goes back to the point that I made earlier. You've got to give him permission to do it. Now, here it is. All of this God gave Jesus so that Jesus would have first place in everything. The question then on the floor, if you believe Jesus can do it, then my question to you is, does he hold first place in your life? Another way to ask that, where does Jesus rank in your faith? Yeah, where does he rank? What place does he hold in your life? He has to be first. Now watch this. For it was the Father's good pleasure for all the fullness to dwell in him bodily. In other words, there isn't anything lacking in Jesus. He is God the Father. He has all the qualities, all power, all authority, right? He has all the ability, just as his Father. Therefore, Jesus is all you need, and Jesus has everything you need. That's why he can do it. That's why he can do it. Well, last point, in his relation to man, watch this. In his relation to man, he's the reconciler of man back to God. Watch verse 20. Through him to reconcile all things to himself, having made peace through the blood of his cross. Through him, I say, whether things on earth or things in the heaven. And although you were formerly alienated and hostile in mind, engaged in evil deeds, yet he has now reconciled you in his fleshly body through death, in order to present you before him holy and blameless and beyond reproach. Look at verse 12. Stay in chapter 1. Look at verse 12. He says, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us. So now what do we have? I know Jesus can do it because only Jesus can qualify the unqualified. Only Jesus can bring worthiness to those who are unworthy. Only Jesus can reconcile people who were dead in trespasses and sin, people who were alienated from God our Father, estranged from him. We were enemies toward God. Only someone like Jesus could bring us back together. Yeah. What am I saying? Only Jesus can do it. I don't need a gimmick. You don't need gimmicks. We don't need gimmicks. Just give us Jesus. Yeah. I don't need a quick fix. Just give me Jesus. And let me tell you, somebody who might be fighting with a stronghold, somebody's dealing with some form of addiction, you need Jesus. You don't need another fix. The only fix you need is Jesus. Yeah, he can do it. You've got to trust him. Now, what's the application? Look at verse 16 again. For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on the earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. You got to trust his power and authority. Yeah. And then Here's another part to the application. Rely on the spiritual leadership of Jesus. Verse 16. Verse 18. I'm sorry. He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he himself will come to have first place in everything. Trust and rely on the spiritual leadership you gain from Christ. And then last, rest in his power. Look at verse 17 again. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. For things to hold together takes someone with power. For things to hold together takes someone with authority. For things to hold together takes someone with some high level of ability, and that's all contained in Jesus. Yeah. Rely on his spiritual leadership. Rest in his power, and then trust in his authority and power. Listen, don't you let the devil fool you by your circumstances to think that you are defeated. Don't you let the devil cause you to believe that God isn't with you and God doesn't love you, God doesn't care. Don't you let the devil trick you into believing that your decisions that you regret are final and that your flaws are fatal. No, don't let the devil cause you to believe that. What you need to do is say, Jesus, I'm trusting you. I'm relying on you. I need you because only you can do it. You've got the power to perform whatever I need it. You've got the authority over it. And you've got the ability to accomplish it. Yeah. Jesus can do it. Now, do you believe Jesus can do it? If you believe Jesus can do it, can he do it? That's not a rhetorical question. That I'm asking you, can he do it? You got to give him permission. Listen, I pray that this lesson has been a blessing to you. I pray that we've set the tone for these next couple of studies that we're going to get into. And I hope that this blesses you. But remember, Jesus is all you need. Jesus can do it. And you've got to give him permission to do it. And you do that by allowing him to have first place in your life. God bless you.
Look at here, y'all. If you're tired of the devil pressing us down, come on, it's time to fight. Well, I know it seems like the devil. Seems like he's winning sometimes. But I came here to let you know that the devil is alive. God is true. God said, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Come on. Look at your neighbor and say, everything is gonna be all right. Go get your armor. Go get your armor and fight the fight. Go get your helmet, get your sword, and get your shield. It's time to stand. Stand and do God's will. Everything is gonna be okay. Yeah. Look out, the enemy is on his way. Watch out now. Come on. But with God, everything, I came to tell you, you don't have nothing to worry about. Just keep your faith in the Master. I need a witness. Marissa, Philip, come here. Sing. Everything is gonna be alright. Though your gate seems dark as night, Satan's strong, but God is stronger. So keep the faith and you gotta keep pressing on. Everything is gonna be okay. God has promised he will make a way. If God before us, who can destroy us? Stand tall, the victory is won. What can separate us from God's